Let me get my green screen up. There we go. I hope everybody's doing well. I'm Boo Home Betty. I have been monitoring this case for a little while, and it looks like something new has shifted in the case of Melodee Buzzard, and that's out of the Vandenberg Village, Santa Barbara County. This is a 9-year-old girl that was reported missing on October 14th. She hasn't been seen or heard from since. And we have learned the family hasn't spoken to her or seen her, and it sounds like a significant amount of time, more than a year. And we've just recently heard that the mother had rented a white vehicle and traveled from their home to Nebraska. Now, we went over the statement in depth earlier today, and what we found out was that there was no indication that the child was alive. There was an indication that they believe she went with her mother to Nebraska, and it so happened to coincide with the date of the mother's return is basically the date this child was reported missing, which was October 14th. So it took a week to drive to Nebraska and back, and she did that by rental car. Hey guys, it's nice to see you. Dawn, Kathleen, Rebecca, Mama Bear, Karen, Denise, Dee's Mystery. It's nice to see all of you beautiful people joining this afternoon. We are covering the case of Melodee Buzzard out of Vandenberg Village, Santa Barbara County, California. This beautiful little face right here. This is her mom. You know, I mean, I don't know how I feel about this, but this child looked very happy and bright in some of these photos, but we heard that there are no photos of this child in any recent history. Hey, Show Poodles, nice to see you, love. Melanie, hello, my love. Sorry I missed this morning. That's okay, love. That's okay. I was having some back problems myself on the show, so I understand. I completely understand. So there's been quite the presence out in front of, it looks like, the home of where Melodee was living with her mother. And so it appears like there's a dozen or so protesters on the sidewalk, and they've got signs with her picture on it. Where's Melodee? I love this. I love seeing communities come together and stand up and fight for victims when the families won't fight for them. Not that the family's not fighting for this child. It's just that it sounded like this broken home. Nobody knew this child was missing. There was so much anger and pain and animosity within the family makeup and the family design that I don't believe that the family was communicating well at all, you know, and I think that's where the first problem was. It sounds like, you know, the mom has some mental illness, known mental illness. The grandmother, you know, took the child away from her. Courts put her back in. We know the song and dance. Hey, Amelia, it's nice to see you. Lori, it's nice to see you. Oh, thank you. That's really sweet. So I'll just get to this. It says the mystery of the missing 9-year-old Melodee Buzzard has prompted people to gather outside of her mother's home, while others plan to search local areas despite law enforcement officers asking not to unintentionally interfere. And you have to understand, everybody has rights, and law enforcement may not like people to search, but in all reality, they have every right to, under the law. If they want to help. You know, when I start seeing people buck the sheriff, then they don't respect them. But if I see people working with them, basically saying, we're going to search here, and law enforcement can tell them, because I know there's been times, like with Layla Santinello, I sent a map off to the detectives because they couldn't give me a whole lot of information. I could only tell them, you know, where I'm searching and have them approve my search area. And that's because I chose to work with law enforcement, not because I had to. Just remember that. And so it's not that they're trying to unintentionally interfere, but let's face it, when law enforcement doesn't include the public, it seems to me that the cases drag on, right? I understand that they want to keep and preserve as much as possible. But when seconds and minutes, and we don't even know if this child's alive, is on the line, there's a lot of questions here. They're saying this child left with the mother and went to Nebraska. How, where did that information come from? And how do they know that this child was with the mother, to make that statement? I mean, we have a lot of questions here and not a whole lot of answers when it comes to that. But again, it sounds like the FBI is stepping forward. Let's keep reading. It says Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office detectives asked public for information about the girl's whereabouts last week. Over the weekend, the FBI said on social media that it was assisting local law enforcement officers in the investigation. So now the FBI is assisting, and I'm pretty confident that that assistance is coming from the state line issue. If they can prove that her mother took her to Nebraska and took her over that state line, they can, they have a little more weight jurisdictionally. They can pull the case from the local jurisdiction if they so choose, or open up a new case altogether and run an independent investigation and be an investigative body for the federal potential federal charges. Hey Pebbles, Melanie, Dawn, it's nice to see you. Laura, hey, it's nice to see you, love. So the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office detectives asked the public for information about the girl's whereabouts last week. Over the weekend, the FBI said social media that they're assisting the investigation, and on Monday morning, the sheriff's office provided its third update, saying the girl has been seen as of October 7th. If you notice, they say she's been seen. Hello, True Crime Justice YouTuber. It's nice to see you, love. So, saying the girl has been seen as recently as October 7th. But being seen, it's almost like we never got clarification, say, even on Lily and Jack Sullivan, right? They were seen at the Dollarama. RCMP, I think, got a hold of a video or CCTV footage that depicted the family going to the Dollarama in New Glasgow, and that's over in Canada. Again, one of the first cases that I had covered from Canada, what have you. And the Canadian police never told us any description of the kids. Were the kids walking? Were the kids, sitting in a vehicle? They never really told us a whole bunch about the children. So it's one of those things. I also want to say, for my protest purposes, I still do not like white liberal women, so any white liberal women can stay off my page. And Charlie Kirk was a martyr. There are no kings except God, and everything that YouTube hates, I just want to make sure I get out in this video before we move on. All right, the detectives have also determined that Ashlee may have driven with Melodee in a white Chevrolet Malibu, and they even have a license plate. The license plate that they are providing, I'm going to have to do a post on this, is 9 M as in Mary, N as in Nancy, G as in girl, 101. To locations outside of Santa Barbara County, to include as far as the state of Nebraska. Santa Barbara to include as far as the state of Nebraska. The vehicle was determined to be a rental, no longer in Ashlee's possession. This doesn't sound good. I know that they said Monday the sheriff's office provided its third update, saying the girl had been seen as recently as October 7th. Now, we have to be careful with that, and here's why. We had reports that there was a student, teacher, parent type of conference online, and we're hearing that Ashlee used another child for that meeting. We're not sure who that child was. We could assume that it would have to be her sister or half stepsister. Hey, Lisa B. Always, it's nice to see you. It doesn't really say in Nebraska. It just says as far as the state of Nebraska so far. We'll have to we'll keep digging in and seeing if we can unearth the location. You know, maybe more of a definitive area in Nebraska. But that's all it says so right now. And she's no longer in the possession of the vehicle. My concern is because we heard that another child, presumably one of her other children, pretended to be this child, this Melodee. We don't know which sibling would pass as her because we haven't seen all the siblings. But it sounds like a sibling sat in on this school type of meeting. So it makes me wonder when they say the third update saying the girl has been seen as recently as October 7th. What does that mean? Did law enforcement see a video with her on it alive and well? Or is this coming from an eyewitness that saw a girl resembling her features traveling with the mother, Ashlee, to that location in Nebraska from October 7th to October 14th? Because of that prior report of another child stepping into that, do we have definitive answers about who saw this girl, Melodee? Not her sister, not other siblings, Melodee. With her mother in that white vehicle, the white Chevy Malibu, outside of Santa Barbara. Aw, thank you, Lady for Justice. I appreciate that. Guys, do me a favor and don't forget to hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already done it. Just Breathe, I didn't say hi to you. I missed you. Hopefully I said hi to everybody else. If I missed you, I'm so sorry. Say hi in the chat and hopefully I'll get you this next time. I think I've got everybody so far. I went up just a little bit to make sure I didn't miss anybody. And I don't think I did. Deanna, hello, my love. I hope you're doing well. So what we're learning right now is that somebody, we don't know who, we don't know if law enforcement saw this child on CCTV footage or if this is eyewitness testimony from a witness. And if it is a witness, how do we know it's not another child that has similar features? Because another child sat in on a school meeting at another time. And that causes me, to stop and pause and say something's not right here. But there was traveling, and they do tell us when the dates of travel. The mother allegedly rented a white Chevy Malibu on October 7th and returned October 14th from my understanding. The vehicle was determined to be a rental, and Ashlee is no longer in the possession of that vehicle. It sounds like they saw or somebody saw a child with her, and I would assume she must not have returned with a child. I don't know what the situation is. At this point in the investigation, Ashlee Buzzard remains uncooperative and has not provided details with any information about Melodee's current location or condition. The primary goal of this investigation is to verify the location and welfare of Ashlee Buzzard and to ensure she is safe. I saw a video, I want to say probably a couple hours ago, and it was from somebody. I think I might even have emailed it to myself. Let me find the other phone. Let me turn the other phone on. I think I might even have emailed myself. Ooh, I hate the 6%. I think I got enough power over here. I can borrow let me just charge up here. And you can see these officers, and it looks like the Department of Children and Family Services are outside of this woman's house. And they're outside of this woman's house looking like they're trying to discuss whether to breach the house, whether to get a warrant. I mean, they are sitting on that house. 5 or 6 officers. It looked like the Department of Child...
This is the most current update on Monday.
Oops. It's the one bad thing. It is the one bad thing about this phone because... Okay,
this is the most current update on Monday, October 20th. CPS investigators...
I don't know how well it's coming in.
The Sheriff's Department have arrived. While watching them at the door, they did make contact with her. I cannot...
There it is, right there. You see all those police?
She came down and talked to
There's police there. It looks like the Department of Children and Family Services. They're all just sitting outside of the house. Look at all them. 1, 2, 3, 4. You got the ones up by the door.
She didn't come out. Sorry, she was talking to them through the door.
So
they went back up to try to make contact again, and she would...
Is there any way I can turn the volume off of this? Maybe I just need to turn the volume down. Okay, so I'll just turn the volume off like this. So I'm seeing huddled around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least a half a dozen people right there. And there's more off camera. Okay? And this is the most recent one. And this appears to have come out today, earlier today. No, excuse me, yesterday. On the 20th, update 20th. So you see all those people. It looks like they were trying to get a search warrant to go inside that house. And I keep wondering whether they have. But that I haven't received any reports that they have. I have been looking. But this is the update. They are taking this majorly seriously. Like, we've got 6 people just sitting out here trying to get the mother to cooperate, to tell them where this child is, just to be able to check on the welfare of this child. And it is not, she's not cooperating. Her sister, we saw earlier, her sister go up and knock on the door. Knock on the door. And she wouldn't even talk to her sister, and all her sister wants to do is find out if her daughter is okay, her niece. And her sister won't have anything to do with her. I don't understand how her sister can afford, I mean, the house looks like, whether it's junky or not, the house looks like it's not cheap. It looks like it is a concrete block home. It looks like the roof is older. The yard is cleaned up. It doesn't look like it's in a horrible neighborhood, and the house is not, it doesn't have any bars over the windows. It looks like it's in a safe neighborhood, and it has a 2-car garage. Like, it looks like a pretty big stinking house. Like, how is she affording this house? So, I'm just saying, like, I've got questions, like, how, you can never, like, when it comes to mental illness, you can never tell, right? But she doesn't look stupid, right? But there's been a lot of people that you wouldn't believe that you can't tell, like, when they are uneducated or have mental illness. Sometimes you can tell when you hear them speak. But sometimes a lot of people never know that somebody's even struggling with mental illness, even when they're medicated, and dealing with mental illness. They're not talking about what type of mental illness she was dealing with, or if there's substance abuse, or if it's just straight mental illness. We haven't learned all of those details yet, even after watching the mother's interview. But this looks pretty serious. This doesn't look like people that think a child's okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, this doesn't look like people that are standing around thinking that this child is okay. I think whoever is out here, whoever has gotten this case, thinks that this is a very, very, very serious matter. The mystery of the whereabouts of the girl shown in the picture with a vibrant smile has quickly gone viral, sparking many questions and much anger. The case attracted the attention of legal commentator Nancy Grace, plus true crime aficionados, aficionado. I can never say. There's just a few words I have a hard time pronunciating, and that's one of them, along with entrepreneur. I feel like we're back in French, you know. Anyways. Oh, that heist. Holy smokes. I read today that heist from the Melodee in Paris was over $100 million worth of crown jewels. Oh my gosh. That's like a once in a lifetime heist. And it's a once in a lifetime, like a heist like that, you would never need another heist in your lifetime. Like that was, let me just back up here. I do not condone any type of criminal activity, just to make sure that we're on the record saying that, okay? But I can still appreciate a damn good heist, okay? This was not the movies. This was like, you know, like James Bond type of, well, no, it wasn't. It was like, you know, Kindergarten 101. I mean, it sounds like, I'm not laughing, okay? Because I don't know if this would be true. It sounds like the Neville left the ladder out, okay? That's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like the Neville and Petty left the ladder out. And somebody just walked up the ladder and got in there. Now, I don't think it's that simple, but it sounds like in the Neville, in the Petty, they like to leave all of their most valuable stuff all in one area. So, you know, if you're a robber or, you know, a seasoned heister, and somebody just happens to leave a ladder out for you, you know, when you get up there, well, you just got to break a few things. And it's like, okay, which one do we want? I think we'll take this over here. We'll take the tiara over here from the queen. You know, I'll leave that here. Might as well give them something to look at. Ooh, but we like those jewels right there. Let's go ahead and grab those, right? Like, where did all the bells go off when they started taking the stuff and lifting? I thought they had, like, those weight... I thought... You know, like in James Bond and other, like, heist movies, I thought they had those weight things. Like, you breathe or a speck of dust, good gracious, lands on the crown jewel, the alarms start going off. Where was that type of security at Paris? Okay, I'm done. Let's get back on track. So... Oh, good gracious. I hope I can clip. I hope that turns out to be a good clip. We might clip that. We might clip that. Okay. So getting back to this very serious, all, you know, satire set aside, this investigation is looking, you know, pretty significant. It's looking bad. And I don't know how bad, right? Like a piece of me, when I'm reading this, makes me feel like something bad happened to Melodee very early on, and people were asking questions, and she started getting nervous, and then rented the car and took whatever remains with her to, you know, drop off anywhere between there and Nebraska. Because it doesn't sound like she just went to Nebraska. The way this is reading, I mean, this says, let's just read the statement that was made here. It said, detectives, and this is in quotes, so this is kind of exact verbatim. When I see, you know, like quote marks, I'm taking that as verbatim. And it says, in quotes, detectives have also determined that Ashlee may have driven with Melodee. May have. That's a big, important word. Detectives have also determined that Ashlee may have driven with Melodee in a white Chevy Malibu, license 9MNG101, to locations outside of Santa Barbara County, to include as far as the state of Nebraska. That's a lot of words that leave a lot of room for hyperbole, speculation. Geoff Shaw, it's nice to see you. Have they tried the local immigrant hotel? Very good perspective. I don't know, just any hotel, local hotel, I think would be good, but why would she be at a local hotel? You know, I guess it would be the question. It sounds like the mother has been duck bobbing and weaving friends and family, or family rather. I don't know necessarily friends. Does anybody know whether she has friends? Hey, Archaholic, it's nice. The wording is weird. That's exactly it. The wording's kind of weird when you read it like that. So it seems loaded. So they don't. It may have implies that they're uncertain whether that's a factual statement. So Ashlee may have driven with Melodee, but she may not have. You see how that works? So that leaves that opening. Ooh, that leaves that opening because it was before that somebody, so it must have been an eyewitness. Maybe we can speculate here. So it must have been an eyewitness that saw a child with her, because we've read that above, that it was based on reports that she had a child. And I said, did law enforcement see her or this? So saying the girl had been seen as recently as October 7th sounds like it could be an eyewitness, or law enforcement could have seen her on CCT. It was very vague. But down at the next paragraph, they say Ashlee may have driven with Melodee. So in order for her to be seen on the 7th, then it'd have to be a third party, because if law enforcement had seen it on a video, then they wouldn't have used may have driven with Melodee. They would have known that Melodee was with Ashlee, and it sounds to me like law enforcement is uncertain. And this might play into the school meeting that they did online, where her mom utilized another child other than Melodee. So this and that comes full circle to what I was just talking about prior. I don't know. I don't like this. I really don't like this, because I'm very fearful for this young lady. Seeing this outside of this child's... Oops. Oh, I lost it. Hold on, let me find it. I'm probably going to have to go back to the email. Hold on. But seeing this type of law enforcement activity beside this young girl's house, it does truly have me concerned. Like, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different law enforcement here with their firearms and everything. So this is a serious matter, and this does not look like they believe this child is okay. This right here, this photo in and of itself shows me that they're very, very, very concerned about this child's well-being. So at this point in the investigation, Ashlee Buzzard, the mother right here, remains uncooperative and has not provided detectives with any information. As a matter of fact, when they were here in this video just yesterday, she wouldn't even open the door for them. She spoke to them between the door. She wouldn't open the door for them. She's not exhibiting the type of behavior that I would if she didn't know where her child was. So one of two things is going on. She knows where her child is and her child is okay, or her child was met with foul play and she did something to her child. I don't really think that. I think that, you know what, Lisa, I think it was you helping me out with this, because you're from Nebraska. I forgot what I was going to ask, but it was going to be something about the trip from California to Nebraska. I think it's to Iowa. I think that was my thing. Is Iowa between, let me just look at the map. Hold on here. Is please, oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Is Iowa, you might have to look at this. Let me just do. California. Not Valdosta. California to Nebraska. Okay, never mind. I just answered my question. What I was gonna ask you is did on their drive from California to Nebraska, is Iowa in there? Because I believe she lived in Iowa for a short period of time. But I've already answered my question because it looks like it does not. It looks like it goes through California, Utah, Colorado, and then up to Nebraska. It looks like it doesn't seem like. It looks like Iowa is over further, so never mind. I think I've. Hey, Pale Rider, Just Steph, it's nice to see you. It's nice to see you. So we're going over this case. The FBI has now joined the search for Melodee Buzzard. She's a 9-year-old girl right here that disappeared from Santa Barbara County and has not been seen for quite some time from a third party. She was in the homeschooling program but had not signed in to finish her work in a significant amount of time. And then her mother leaves town suspiciously in a rental car on October 7th and doesn't come back until October 14th and appears to have gone from California to Nebraska and from Nebraska to back to California, where when she returns home, the child is reported missing on October 14th. It is my belief that that the school had been wanting to put their eyes on this child for a significant amount of time. And I think that child was deceased inside that house. And when she was being pressured by the school, I think she took that child and got rid of that child somewhere. Now, again, that's speculation because we don't have any evidence that this child is deceased or anything. It's just a gut feeling that I have, because why would the mother use another child in a meeting, an online meeting with the school, if she had her child with her up until October 7th when they took the trip? The other question is we know that there was some tension there where the school was reaching out and trying to find out what happened, where this child was, because work was not getting done. It doesn't sound like any third party has laid eyes on this child for over a year. So we don't know exactly when this child could have been injured, if this child lost her life, if she did lose her life, when did she lose her life, and what provoked the mother to rent the car and go to Nebraska. But with a non-cooperating mom, I think it's making those questions go unanswered. And I don't know if we're going to get answers. Did I hear somebody say hi to Outer Banks? Outer Banks, it's nice to see you. I hope you're doing well. Detectives continue to pursue all available leads. This public outreach effort is one part of those ongoing efforts to develop information that could assist investigators. Again, if you guys have seen this child or this mother anywhere from California to Nebraska, you're asked to call law enforcement. Even if you saw her in the white Malibu. Did they give us a year on that Malibu? Let me go up here. They didn't give us a year. Why aren't they giving us a year? I mean, Malibus, I'm sorry, the design, especially the back end, where the trunk is, that changes on I had a Malibu. That changes on the back of that bumper and trunk, whatever it's called, the lid. Those change from year to year, or every few years that changes. Without having that year, the appearance of the vehicle could slightly be altered. Mine had almost like a square background or back, but with just a little lip, like almost like a little spoiler, but not. I mean, it was just a little raise, as for the wind or something. I don't know. It was weird, but my back end was boxy when I had mine. I had a 2012 Chevy Malibu. Detectives continue to pursue all available leads. Public outreach. They're doing public outreach. Law enforcement officers typically don't reveal the details of the investigation to protect the evidence. If a case winds up in court, we're very used to, they can't, information that goes to the integrity of the investigation, they have to withhold to the chest. When we start hearing this, we start getting nervous because they don't start holding information to the chest in just a missing persons case. They only start doing that when they start getting the indicators that this is going to be something more. And that means that this is most likely going to proceed to a court hearing. Then they start, because if you are ever at a missing child, you'll see, like even Sebastian's case at the very beginning, missing child, the information was flowing. So was Summer Wells. Flowing exactly where they were, what they were doing, and as they started realizing that there's foul play, they started being very, very specific in what they were releasing, and in hearing that they don't typically reveal details of an investigation. Those are not things you want to hear, because a missing persons, it's not really an investigation. I mean, if you really wanted to look at it, yeah, I guess missing person investigation, but they're not holding or protecting evidence in a missing persons case. They're protecting evidence in something with foul play, in my opinion. Locally, more than 24 people stood in front of the mother's house demanding answers. I love that. Whoever you are, if you come by this channel, I love that. Thank you. I absolutely support you raising your voices out there, doing it lawfully and legally, and asking where's Melodee. There's nothing wrong with that, and I'm glad somebody is doing it. That's pressure, and we love pressure. Planted in the grass between the sidewalk and the street, where's Melodee? And they do. It's nice. I love it. Handmade signs. Love it. I would love to give you guys a hug if I could. About 24 people gathered near the house Sunday afternoon, with shouting matches erupting between neighbors and residents, worried about the missing girl, including some relatives. They're not doing nothing. Police ain't doing nothing. Law enforcement ain't doing nothing. Anything. Somebody's got to do something, one woman says. Some of the people knocked on the door, but it was not answered. They believe the mother was inside the home, claiming that smoke rising from the chimney indicates her presence. Everybody's worried about the little girl, another woman said, explaining what spurred them to show up outside the missing girl's home. A Facebook group in search of Melodee quickly grew to more than 1,000 members as people are offering their theories. So it looks like they're going to be doing plans. So if you're in the area, it looks like they are planning on doing some searches and ground searches until this child is found. And I always recommend that law enforcement use it as a strategy, instead of telling the public in a situation where you have a 9-year-old girl missing not to show up, not to help search. It's put a plan together and get them out searching areas you want them to search. It's so much easier to control the masses and get them busy doing some work that might help you, but having that controlled effort controls where they're at as well, And so when you have a law enforcement body that may want their searchers to stay out of certain areas until they check, it's always beneficial for law enforcement to take, kind of the reins of and coordination of those private search efforts. I find that to be very beneficial to law enforcement, Again, I've been around the block a time or two, and I know what helps people, what works with law enforcement, what are good strategies and what are horrible strategies. Telling people not to show up when a 9-year-old girl's missing is not a good strategy. Finding out what to do when people show up to help search for a 9-year-old girl that's missing, that's a good strategy. And so I would always recommend that law enforcement find good strategies. And when you have people showing up at the masses, you need places to put those people at the masses, because you do not want them contaminating areas that you are searching. And not only that, but areas have to be cleared. And putting them in areas that can be cleared, that might get some evidence or pay dirt, wouldn't hurt. Maybe out of the way of ground searches of law enforcement. Just saying. Just saying. I think it's, I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot of good stuff happen when law enforcement is running the private efforts. Although initially reported, and not only that, when you have situations like this or missing children or anything, having law enforcement kind of doing the searches and stuff, it's a great effort and a great tool to collect a lot of information, because when you're out there, you got to know who's coming and who's going, because if people are going out for searches, you got to make sure that if you're running a search, XYZ number of people go out to the search and XYZ number of people come back from the search. If you have 14 people go out to the search and you're ready to close down and only 12 people come back, well, if you don't have all their names or a list of who's out there, you might leave 2 people out in the wilderness without any help. You can't do that. You got to know. I just find it very beneficial when law enforcement take those private efforts. They coordinate it. They collect, information about people. So if there is maybe somebody that did something that happens to want to act like they're helping just to get intel, they'll have some information. There's always clever ways of doing things. I've seen a lot. The initial reports, here's what we got. Although initially reported that the girl was last seen more than a year ago, that's what scared us the most. Officials on Friday confirmed an August sighting when Ashlee Buzzard and her daughter visited Mission Valley Independent Study School to initiate her registration. Again, I think my concern is going to continue to be, how do we know that this was, in fact, Melodee? Because I'm not going to be able to shake the fact that she used another child to fake this meeting with school officials. Mission Valley is an independent student study program offered through the Lompoc Unified School District. The program refers students back to their school of residence if they fail to pick up assignments, LUSD representative said. At that point, the school residence connects the family to complete enrollment. If attendance does not begin, the school follows mandatory truancy procedures, including. So we have to think that these truancy procedures were enacted for Melodee, because we have to try to figure out what provoked her mother leaving the house on the 7th in a rental vehicle to go toward Nebraska and to come back from that long trip. It took a round trip of almost a week. It appeared 7th through the 14th, and this child was reported on the 14th. So if you're listening to and understanding how this independent study program that she was enrolling in, it sounds like the child must have been at some type of school. And Ashlee wanted her daughter to now be homeschooled. It says Mission Valley is an independent study program offered through the Lompoc Unified School District. The program refers students back to their school of residence if they fail to pick up assignments, and the Lompoc Unified School District representative said. So at the point, the school of residence connects the family to complete enrollment. So if she was at, whatever school, Santa Barbara Elementary. I'm not saying she's at Santa Barbara Elementary. I'm using it as an example. Then they would need her to enroll this child for that home residency, independent residency program. But if she fails to pick up assignments, then it's referred back to her school of residence, which would be that Santa Barbara Elementary School, which is the example being used. It sounds like which we found out that this child wasn't fulfilling the assignments being assigned to her. So if that's the case, this is what happens. It says if attendance does not begin, the school will follow mandatory truancy procedures, including phone calls, letters, emails, and home visits. When a student or family cannot be reached after these efforts, the school requests a welfare check from law enforcement, which we know is what kicked this whole thing off with Melodee, is that they requested law enforcement for a wellness check at this home. So that means that they've already went through the mandatory truancy procedures before doing that. So now that's telling me that's probably what caused her to take whatever she had of Melodee, which I pray to God was a living, breathing baby or child, 9-year-old child, with her. But this isn't looking good, because they would have been calling her. She knew that school wanted to lay eyes on that child. And they didn't send that law enforcement welfare check until the 14th, when the missing child report was had. And that was the day she returned from Nebraska. So I'm thinking she went to anywhere between, I don't think that child's in California. I think that child was at that house deceased, and she knew that any day now they were coming knocking on her door and they were going to find that child. And I think she rented a car and went and disposed of her daughter. We know that the child's father, Rolando Rubel, which they called Piney? It's Pinoy. Don't. Meza, he was 40 when he died. He died August 2016 in a motorcycle crash in Santa Maria. So they said anyone who has seen Melodee Buzzard or has had any contact with Ashlee since October 7th is urged to contact the Sheriff's Office Criminal Investigation. And that's 805-681-4150. Now, I'm going to say this because I was watching Pascal, and he was talking about the case of Kata Scott. We all know Kata Scott, beautiful black lady, a young woman, 23 years old, from Philly, Pennsylvania. Was going to work at an assisted living facility where she had the overnight crew. You know, she was part of the overnight crew there, and she disappeared. And there was one girl that was in the community that came out because she was being called out because Keon had reached out to her, and this was before Kata went missing, and he asked her specifically about Kata. And everybody was trying to get her to call law enforcement, and she didn't want to do it because she didn't want to get involved. He had already turned himself in for the kidnapping. She didn't see where it was relevant. She went on there. People were still trying to encourage her to go to law enforcement. And the reason why I'm going through this statement is because no matter what, as insignificant as it may be, you need to call it in. If you had contact with Ashlee at all in the last year, you most likely should be calling law enforcement. If you've had contact, if you've seen Melodee, even at the grocery store, at the gas station, you should be calling all of that in. Hey, Tanya, it's nice to see you, love. Denise, it's nice to see you. Don't, please, don't leave it to somebody else to do, you know. We never know what law enforcement needs. That nugget of information might prove something. And it's not like this girl seemed like she was a bad apple or anything like that. She was just young, you know. She had midterms, so it sounds like she's going to school. I love that. That tells me a lot. Punks don't want a higher education. Punks don't want punk. She's not a punk. She's going to school. She had midterms. She was concerned. Like, she's concerned about her midterms. I love that. I love that. So I'm going to label her as being young. Okay, I'm not going to label this young lady as, whatever. I'm just going to label her as being young. Young people make terrible decisions sometimes. Not all their decisions are right, but it's not that she was doing it out of malice. She was doing it out of just simply she didn't think it really mattered, because she's young. That's all it is with her. At least from the story she was she brought her the receipt. She put her phone out. She showed you where the calls came. She broke it all down. And in all fairness, if she didn't want to go to the law enforcement, that's the next best thing she could do, is show it to the screen. And you know what? If law enforcement wants to speak to her, they know how to find her. I guarantee that. Okay? If they really want the information, I guarantee they will be knocking on her door, and she will tell them. Because she doesn't look like a punk. She looks like somebody that she'll tell it to a screen, then she'll tell it to the law enforcement. She just doesn't want to be the one that calls law enforcement to tell them, it sounds like. So, again, just young. So if you do have anything like that, where you have seen Melodee, you have seen Ashlee, you've seen somebody act like, I just can't figure out how Ashlee is living in that house. Is she living with somebody? It sounds like she might have a husband. What other adults are inside that house? What other adults know something? I haven't heard anything else about adults inside that home, but I'm hearing that this lady was a mental basket case, had a lot of mental illness, this lady right here. So if she did have all this mental illness, how in the world could she possibly afford a home with a 2-car garage? I'm just saying, there's a lot of women out there that have mental illness that can't, hold down jobs, let alone have a house with a 2-car garage. Okay? They're usually in, rundown homes and stuff like that. Not saying that that's where they should be. I'm just saying that's usually what I'm accustomed to seeing when you have a person that has mental illness, and the mental illness was so bad that their child was removed from the home. Satan runs around like a rousing lion, seeking whom he may devour. He comes to steal, kill, and destroy. I hear you. Oh, thank you, Sheila. Thank you. I do appreciate that. It just makes you wonder. So I'm glad the FBI is involved. It sounds like the case is progressing. I don't know this woman. I'm hopeful that we get Melodee back, but if she was with like a family member or something like that, I just see her mom coming out and telling law enforcement that she's, she couldn't take her anymore, and she drove her to a family member's house, XYZ, wherever the family member's house is, and here's the number, go check on her and be done with the conversation, so this can be over and done with. I mean, she's mom. She has every right to put her child in a safe environment. She has the ultimate decision. And that's what I said about, Chris and Katie as well, is because they had the ultimate decision. If they put, well, I guess not really with Seth and stuff, but if they wanted to put that child, their son, in a home, who cares? You tell the law enforcement where he is, bada bing, bada boom. You didn't want him in your house, so what? Seth finds out where he's at, brings him home with him, still not in your house, who cares, right? It's always these people that everybody tries to say, oh, it's this way or it's that way. Well, then why aren't they just owning up to it? Like, that is not unlawful. What's going on, is unlawful. If it's a hoax, you can go to jail for filing a false police report, all these other things. So it brings me back to, I'm really, her behavior, not cooperating, talking to the law enforcement through the door. That tells me she's scared of opening the door and them coming in. Who else? How is she affording affording the house? How is she affording food? How is she afford even the rental? Does she have a job? It might be she has a job. How did she disappear for a week? Who took care of her other kids while she was gone for the week? Did they go with her? You know, all of these questions that, in my opinion, really don't go to the integrity of the investigation, because it's like, okay, well, she disappeared for a week, or she went to, Nebraska. She's got multiple children. Who took care of the multiple children while she went to Nebraska? Maybe if they do a press conference, maybe one of the news people out there can ask the question. I don't know. Nancy Grace is going live about her case now. Okay. All right. Well, I'm ending my my show here anyway. It sounds like a search warrant. But you would think. Well, yesterday when I saw all those officers outside circling, it sounds like they were watching the house, so they could actually. That's usually what happens. When you're holding the fort down to wait for a search warrant, that's typically what happens. But do they have probable cause for the search warrant? That's going to have to be the question. And I'm certain that they have to have probable cause. I mean, this child hasn't been seen. Somebody said the child was seen on the 7th, so the child's been gone a week. That's concerning. But this is in California. I don't know the laws in California. What's anyways. All right, guys, go over to Nancy Grace. It sounds like she's going over the case right now. I'm going to go over and listen myself. But it looks like the FBI is involved. This is not good, okay? I'm going to tell you that right now. I mean, it's appropriate, especially if she went over state lines. But this is not good. I'm not feeling the bubbly feeling I should feel, like this child's alive. I'm not feeling that. Truancy, yeah, because she was an at-home schooled student. But they are required to pick up their assignments and do their assignments. And if they're not doing their assignments, then if they're not completely enrolled, then the truancy procedures are in place. But even if they are enrolled, if they're not completing their assignments, then the truancy procedures are implemented. And those truancy implementations are phone calls. So she knew that they were coming to try to find this child. That's what I needed to find out, because I was still trying to figure out what triggered this trip on the 7th, because she was reported on the 14th as missing. And that's the same day that they're saying the mom returned back to California. If that's the case, I feel that this child was dead, and I feel like that trip was to dispose of evidence. I really do. So we'll keep an eye on this. Let's see what Nancy Grace has to say, and we'll be back. We'll be back later this evening, or we'll be picking this up tomorrow. I have a funny feeling we may go live after Nancy Grace to discuss Nancy Grace. So we'll see you guys here shortly, and until then, don't forget to be fearless. Talk to you soon.